Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. If you can hear me, can you give me a reaction? Give me a thumbs up. I want to know if you can hear me, if you can see me. Just give me a reaction. Great. That is so good. Thank you so much. Thanks for sending the love. It's nice and so good. We are happy to have all of you here today. We want to start right in time, and we would have people join us as they join. They will just join the conversation. One of our panelists has to leave right at the hour, so we want to be also respectful of that. And so we're just going to kick off right away. I'm going to start by doing a land acknowledgement. I'm joining you from the traditional and unceded territories of the Semiahmoo First Nation and the broader territory of the Coast Salish peoples here in the lower mainland of British Columbia, Canada. I know lots of us are joining from other places. Some people are joining at very, I don't know if to call this graveyard hours. Some people are joining at their 12 a.m., 1 a.m. Thank you for joining us at this time. We are hoping that you get a lot of value from our conversation today. So we're going to start by having an opening speech from Pascal. Pascal, are you here? Do you want to do a quick opening before we get right into it today?
Yep, I can. Hi, everyone. Can you all hear and see me? I can't see myself. I'm not sure why. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Just give me a thumbs up. Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. All right. So I just want to say a big thank you to everyone for making out the time to be here. For those of you in British Columbia, now is a very beautiful weather. It is really tempting to do something else at this time, right? You can go to the beach, you can do 1,001 other things at this time, but you've taken the time to be at this seminar, so at this webinar. So thank you for making out the time. I just wanted to talk a bit about how and why we started Thrive in Canada. So everyone here, you are the lucky person. This is the very first edition of Thrive in Canada. And why this whole conversation started was last year in hybrid, we trained over 1,000 people from all our courses. And a lot of questions that kept coming up from both people that went through the program, those that could not join because of different reasons, was really cultural integration. How do they find them? They found themselves in different geographical environments. They're exploring job opportunities, but how do they land jobs that are commensurate to their skill sets, their education, and everything they know? So there seemed to be a huge gap between the skills people have, the experiences they have, and the kind of jobs that they get when they shift geography, especially coming to Canada. So we thought to put up a platform like this and then find very astute, smart HR people who interviewed candidates on a day-to-day basis and said, you know what, you are on the other side. We'd like to hear your voice in this kind of conversation so that you can guide our audience and our community in terms of how do they best position themselves to get jobs that are commensurate to their skill level. And that was what led to Thrive in Canada. Now, our goal is to make sure that at the end of every session we have, today is the first one, we're going to have a whole lot more. At the end of every session, you go home or you go to your respective locations with insights that will guide your journey, insights that would like reshape how you approach work, how you approach life, and how you also are able to easily integrate to a new environment. So I'm not going to spend much time talking about this. We have two very powerful people in our midst, and I'm going to shut up and give them the opportunity to really express themselves and give you all that they came in store with. So thank you so much for coming. Have a great time, and I'll come back somewhere towards the end to talk with you again. All right, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Pascal. Thank you for that intro. So Hybrid, as you all know, is an educational institution, and in order for us to add better value to not just our students, but also the communities that we serve, that's why we decided to start this. So welcome to Thrive in Canada again. I just want to say that today's session, we had so many questions that came in, overwhelming number of questions. And so I want to start by apologizing that if I do not touch on your question, it's not because I'm trying to ignore you. We are just trying to, manage the time and the time of our panelists as well. Also, I want to add that this is not an immigration session, okay? These sessions are not immigration sessions. Like I said, they are tailored for those who are already in Canada or those who are trying to migrate to Canada to understand what the job market is, how they should prepare themselves both mentally, and what they should do to get themselves ready for the job market. So that's the focus. So we're not going to be addressing any immigration related questions. And I apologize. Again, some housekeeping. You have the Q&A button. Please give me a thumbs up or something if you can see the Q&A button, because that's where, if you want to interact with us, that's where you're going to be typing in your questions. Great, I see a thumbs up. I see so many thumbs up. So you're going to use the Q&A button, and so that we're focused, where the time is focused on everyone getting value. That's why your videos and your audios are turned off. We want to be able to zone in, within this time, focus it on, getting the value without any distractions, okay? So without talking too much, because I think I have already, I want to welcome our panelists today to kick off the session. These two people here they understand the human in human resources. That's what I said. They understand the human part of human resources. That is why we have invited them. They're energetic and passionate about helping new people to Canada thrive in Canada. And so that's why we have invited them here today. And so I'm going to pass the microphone on to Anna first, because I know they said ladies first. Okay, sorry, Imole. Oh, Anna then, yes. I'll do Anna first because she's a lady. To give us, she'll just introduce yourself briefly. I've had time to connect with Anna on some occasions, and she's wonderful. So Anna, can you tell us briefly about yourself in a minute or less? Thank you.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. So a bit about myself. I did my education in human resources and business administration. I found my love, I guess, and my calling, I think, in recruitment or talent acquisition. So really supporting both the candidate in the exploration of opportunities, but also identifying the best candidate for opportunities in partnership with hiring leaders. I worked in various industries from e-commerce to insurance. I've also done technical recruiting for the most part of my career, and then also clinical healthcare, but a range of corporate positions and technical roles. I think my favorite part about my job is I get to learn so much about people and their journeys throughout their career, but also in their life, because work is just one part of that. And more than that is learning different roles and different requirements, and just, like getting to know people, which is really exciting.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anna. Anna is also passionate about topics like this and supporting communities like ours. And I want to add that Anna interviewed me for a role. I didn't get that role, but she was awesome. It was a great experience, just having to interact with her in that time. So Imoleayo is next here. He comes with a unique experience because he is not just a HR manager, he's also an immigrant. And so he can speak from personal experience to some of the questions that we are going to be having today. So Imoleayo, take it away, introduce yourself in less than a minute.
Thank you very much, Michelle. It's good to be here. My name is Imoleayo, as you've heard, and I'm glad to be here. I'm an HR guy. I love HR with a passion. I love people. I love to support. I currently work as an HR manager for Coca-Cola Canada. I support 3 provinces. I support interior British Columbia, Northern Alberta, and Saskatchewan. So my work plenty. But I've been HR for over 13 years. Like you said, I'm an immigrant. I moved here about 6 years ago now, and the journey has been an interesting one. But one of my passion is to really help people, and that's why I started an HR community called HR Leaders in Canada. And the whole idea is just to create a foundation, create a platform for folks. Some of the struggles I went through, some of which we'll talk about today, so that people would not necessarily go through that. I am married. I'm married to just one wife, a beautiful one. She's a lawyer and blessed with 2 kids. My job makes me travel back and forth. Right now, I'm in British Columbia. So
awesome.
That's
Thank you so much. Thank you, Imoleayo. We're pumped up. We are getting ready to hear the 2 of you. So the format of today's webinar is, like I said, it's going to be these people delving into some of your heartfelt questions. We are going to avoid and stay away from corporate speak. We are not going to say anything that is above your head. We're going to try to be as real as possible, but keep it as simple as possible, okay? So if we can start with the first question here. I want to start this question, and I want to ask Anna this question. All right. And Imole, you're also going to answer the same question. So I want you, from your lens, okay, from your lens and what you've seen, tell us about the current job market and why it is important for people to be more prepared now than ever before. So Anna, can you give us, what you think from your lens is an answer to this question?
This is a great question. So, I mean, I think in any market, whether it's North America or overseas, after COVID, the change of like employers and their mentality around working from home and accessing talent from all places in the world versus just that focused location or geographic location, it makes the market a lot more competitive. Because now, let's say, for example, if I'm looking for software engineers, I don't just need to look in Canada or just in Vancouver. I can look across country, but I can also look outside of the country. The other part about the economy right now that makes the market extremely competitive is there's much more talent available due to the restructures, due to the strategic, kind of downsizing in response to the economy. So for example, now, if someone were to post a role for a project manager, previously we may have seen 50 applications. Now we're seeing 100, 150. So I think the tough part is, and to be very honest, when a job gets posted and you're quick to apply, it doesn't necessarily guarantee that your resume will get looked at if, let's say, the employer, for example, likes to gather applications over 3 weeks and then start to review resumes, versus some employers will look in the first week and then cap that and decide, okay, I'm going to shortlist based on the 51st candidates that we received. I think to be prepared in this market, knowing that you're competing with so many more people, is to cater your application, to do your research about the company, to use some of those buzzwords or some of your relevant experience or expertise in that sector or industry, because there's probably going to be more than one of you candidates who possess that type of skill set. Let's say you're a project manager, you work with budgets, you work with project charters. But what's going to make you extra competitive is how closely aligned your experience is to that company or that role specifically. I think just knowing that, being quick, scoping out jobs, setting alerts in this market is really important. Sometimes timing is the key, but also being very specific about how you cater your resume or application to make yourself stand out.
Sorry, thank you so much, Anna. I think you have touched on some very important things there about the competitiveness of the market now compared to before, because of the restructuring and so many other things going on. So thank you for that. Emole, can you, in also in about 30 seconds, tell us what you think from your lens is important for people to... Sorry, go ahead.
I think I really align with Anna, because right now the unemployment rate is about 12.1%, right? And last year after COVID, it dropped to as low as 7%, 8%, right? So one thing is clear, right? The economic outlook has changed the game, number one, right? In terms of what's unemployment rate is going a bit higher right now because the restructure, like Anna said, and then Canada is bringing in a lot of trained expats, foreign expats, right? And so if you're here, the same thing, we're seeing a spike, a significant spike in the number of applicants. Some of the meetings I attended last year, I'm not attending today now because, we have almost an abundance, right? So how do you differentiate yourself? I think we'll delve into that, but part of it is really understanding that you're not the only one in the market, understanding some of the strategies that you need to use to bring yourself closer to the employer, And Canada is big on referral. Canada is so big on referral, right? And so if you really want to go, make some significant mileage in your job search, you have to know that you have to make significant investments in networking, That's something you need to keep in mind. And beyond networking, how do you bring the value you're able to offer to the employer? How do you bring it to the fore? I tell people, when we get talent, we are excited. The employer needs you. Nobody's doing you a favor for giving you a job. You're a blessing to them. But how do they know that you have this to offer? So that's itself, it's a process, but that's one thing you have to keep in mind. You're not the only one competing in the market, but you have something to offer. The critical thing is, how do you position yourself, your resume, your profile, yourself as an individual in front of the right people, such that they'll give you that opportunity to get the job you desire.
Thank you so much, Imole. You have touched on so many things there, and one takeaway there is, which Anna also echoed, was, you know, the competitiveness of the job market and how do you the question there is, how do you differentiate or set yourself apart? Dunyade, I see your question. I'm going to come to that question, okay? So thank you too for answering these questions. Before we move ahead with the next question, we're going to run a poll. Pascal, are you able to help me launch the first poll? So here is to get everyone engaged. We wanted the numbers to kind of build up a bit. We want to launch a poll. It's just a 4-question poll. And so, Pascal, are you able to launch the poll, or do you want me to? Awesome. So the poll is up now. If you can quickly run through these questions and let us feel your pulse on some of these questions. Let's know where the shoe is pinching most for you. That'll be great. Okay. I'm just going to give 30 seconds more. 30 seconds more here. Oh my God. Okay. This is interesting. I have about 10 seconds more to go. If you want me to leave the poll longer, just give me a thumbs up. I'm going to close the poll now. But if you're still working at it, let me know. I'm just going to end the poll now. Okay. Awesome. And so I just want to read out what the results are looking like. Let me see if I can share these results. Can we all see what the results look like? Can we all see that? Okay, good. And so for the question that asks, okay, thank you. For the question that asks, what aspects of landing a job in Canada do you find most challenging? 52% of people think it's finding the right jobs. What happened to my support? I can't see your screen anymore. Okay, I'm just going to use my screen. So 52% of people think that finding the right jobs is the problem, the one that is most challenging for them. And closest to that is 30% thinking that they do not understand the job market. So an understanding of the job market is what 30% of people think. So we're going to talk about finding the right jobs. It may not be in this conversation, but we're going to take away the results of this poll. So the next question that asks, when it comes to building a professional network in Canada, which do you find the most difficult? The second question, which do you find the most difficult? And 54% of people say making initial connections is more difficult. And 46% of people think it's finding where to meet people. So where do I meet these people? 54% of people know where to find the people, but they don't know how to make that initial connection. The next question here is, what do you consider to be the biggest cultural hurdle in the Canadian workplace? 54% of people think it's adapting to different work styles. So a lot of cultural pieces here coming in, not much of language barrier. So adapting to to different work style is 54, and closest to that is a lack of understanding of the Canadian culture in general, right? Thank you so much. So the last question here is, which do you believe is more crucial for success in the Canadian job market? 46% of people think is Canadian work experience. And closer to that is just 24% I think is having the relevant skill. Okay, this is interesting. So I'm going to ask our panelists this last question. Can we start from here? What is most important, for success in the Canadian job market? And I'll start with Imole. I mean, from your experience, are you focused on the person who has the Canadian experience more than the person who has the educational qualification? Or are you looking for the person who has more of the relevant skill? Or is it the person that maybe your manager says, hey, Imole, I know this guy, he's a good guy, you have to hire him. Like, which of this? I know they are all important, okay? So I know they are all important, but which one here ranks? Tell me from your lens, okay?
Yeah, from my lens, I think this data, this survey data is almost accurate. Because Canada is big on Canadian experience. Canada is big on, while they appreciate certain level of education, there's still, I mean, I'm going to say this very carefully, but there's still a measure of systemic discrimination in the Canadian job market. That is evidence because, and that's obvious because the Canadian organizations value their own experience. They value somebody who has learned in the system. So having Canadian work experience is a major one. Now, let me put it in context. One of the reasons why I find, because I've interacted at multiple levels on this, I've had a presentation with my executives and they asked me this question, and they asked me from the lens of being an insider and HR personnel. Two things is different in the Canadian workspace: culture and context. If you are not a Canadian and you don't live in Canada, you can't understand it. You need to live in Canada to know that Canadians are not confrontational. They'll rather talk behind you, but they'll never talk in front of you. They'll smile, they're all smooth and friendly. You need to understand that sometimes how you say something is more important than what you've said. And we can spend a whole month dealing with how you say something, how you made the individual feel. While if you're coming, for instance, from Nigeria, Nigerian will tell you as it is to your face, right? Or you're from India or from some other culture. So the Canadian culture is different, and for you to really thrive in it, you must understand it, right? And that puts a lot of pressure, because in all fairness, I've seen certain foreign trained professionals, fantastic back home, but they get here, the struggle. And that's because sometimes you don't understand that there are things, come to Canada, there are things you need to unlearn, relearn, and learn for you to thrive here. You can't do things the way you do back home as an immigrant and expect to thrive here. You will struggle. In fact, you need to really do some reorientation, right? Okay. I mean, I've seen somebody deal in the workplace, calling his employees his staff, my staff, my staff. That's not acceptable here. You know what I mean? So the Canadian work experience is more important to them, than your education. Man, I've seen managers, operations managers, literally directors who don't have a first degree. They have a diploma, they have some certifications. That tells you how much it's more of experience, So I think it's more crucial to have the Canadian job experience. And I know somebody will ask that, you see, they're not giving me this opportunity. How would I get that experience? Right?
Okay, so Imole, I don't get into that. Don't get into that, okay? We're going to get into that, okay? But thank you. Some pointers from what you've said is listen now, if you don't take anything away from this one, how you say something in the Canadian workplace is more important than what you're saying, how you say it, your facial expression, the tone of your voice, the way your body is aligned. Is it stiff? Like it's actually more important than what you're saying. Sometimes you have to unlearn some of the things you know from where you're coming from and relearn how things are done. So Canadian work experience, from what you've said, is put above everything else, because then the person who is hiring knows that you understand the context, you know how, the cultural, you fit culturally. So Anna, can you speak from your lens about this and tell me what you have seen, from the places you've worked and the people you've hired?
Yeah, this is okay. So this is really interesting. For example, when I was working in clinical healthcare, the educational qualifications, I would say, and the relevant skills came first. Part of it is like licensing or, having the clinical education to be able to provide care. I have worked for companies where they say the hiring manager, and to be honest, I think one of the struggles with some of like how to prioritize which of these is most important will ultimately depend on the hiring manager or managers, because there is a little bit of that personal sometimes bias, right? I have, in my time in my role now, I have never once heard a leader say to me, oh, this person doesn't have Canadian experience. Some of the best software engineers we've hired come from Brazil, Argentina, Kenya, Nigeria, all over the world, Poland. So, and a lot of those software engineers are self-taught. So they don't have actually formal education, but they've done some boot camps or some coursework, or like, for example, like a condensed course or program just to upskill or get some of the relevant skills or tooling that they need for specific jobs. So I think my experience or my the organizations or leaders that I've worked with, I've been very fortunate in a lot of cases that I don't hear a lot of that Canadian work experience requirement. But to Malio's point, there is a bit of ignorance that still exists in a lot of organizations. I would say sometimes it's generational also. If the organization has a lot of mature people, if I can say it like that, it's just a mentality shift. And so I do agree it's stupid. Like, do you get the experience first to get the job, but you need the job to get the experience. I think the relevant skills part is where you can offset that lack of Canadian work experience to say, hey, I haven't worked in Canada, but in my role in, let's say, Brazil, here are the things that I've done that match your job posting requirements. And I think what's really helpful, and I see this a lot when I review resumes, people don't, like candidates who have worked in other countries and have a breadth of experience, don't write any summary about what that company does, what industry that company is in. So I barely know all the companies in Canada. It makes it a lot easier for me as a recruiter, as the first person reviewing your resume, to see, okay, you're applying for a role on a banking product. You worked in, let's say, Kenya for a large national bank. Actually, one of our software engineers, he did exactly that. And so drawing the parallel between what you did in your home country, what the industry sector, some of the technical knowledge that relates to this role here in Canada, that's how you, I think, draw the best, hey, I have this experience. While it may not be Canadian, it's relevant. I'm a good fit. So I think just adding a little 1-line, 2-line summary about the company you worked for in another country, what that company provided as a service or a product, and then again, matching the relevant skills to what the job posting is looking for can help, I think, alleviate some of that gap of Canadian work experience.
Beautiful. Can I add this to it? Sorry. Anna's joined, she should point out something very important, and I agree with you. So I find in my experience, when I was in recruitment consulting, I find for specialized skills, and I tell people every day, when you are in the engineering or you're in the IT space, I find that it's easy for professionals and managers in that space to accept other foreign trained professionals to work for them in that space. If you're in IT, I have friends who hire a lot from India, from Nigeria, from Kenya, and Brazil, like you said, for technical skills, where global practices, where those organizations, where there's global standards and global practices, I find it to be a bit easier in those specialized skills. But for regular roles, you really need to inculcate what Anna has just said in terms of draw the parallels. The first main HR job I did here was I worked in the airport, and it was in security from the G4S. And what was the parallel? I worked with Halogen Security back in Nigeria, which happens to be the biggest security company, and I drew it out. I got recommendation there. I pointed it to them. We had big clients. I called it out. Those parallels, especially if you're not in those specialized skills, is very critical. And I think I need to overemphasize that part. Many Canadians or many folks here, they don't know those organizations back home. They've never heard about some of them. How do you make them? You need to put those lines describing what that organization looks like from a value point, from a numbers point, and the value you were able to put to give to that organization, especially as it relates to the role they're recruiting for. I think that is very important.
Thank you, guys. I mean, you can see the passion that these people have for this topic. I mean, like, how else do you spell passion? Imole doesn't just wants to take the stage. Anna is, is just jamming. I just want to point out some things here. I mean, in case, because I know they were talking, they were, dropping a lot of value. Anna said something and I want to point out. So she said in some, depending on what you're looking for, if you're looking at regulated professions, for example, then educational qualification may be what they are looking for. So be very mindful of what space you're going to play in, right? She also mentioned something. You don't have to have that formal educational experience. In her experience, she's hired people that have done some short courses, some boot camps, people that have been able to, get some skill and knowledge just by going to, do some abridged version of something someone else would have gone to do in 4 years in a university. So taking advantage of, things like this, exactly like what hybrid does. Something else both of them have echoed, and which is something I myself is like, okay, that's a good one, is if you say you have worked for a company in your home country, we don't expect the HR professional to start Googling those companies. Oh, what do these people do? Just put that summary. They do this. So if you are looking for a role or a job in a telecoms company as, some technical type person, I have also worked for this company, which is also telecoms in another country. And these are the parallel, making it easy for the person to look at you and, want to keep you or take you to the next level. Thank you so much, guys. So can I have the next question? Not the poll, the next question. Good. So this question and some of the questions we may have touched on, and I will skip it. So this question says, how can immigrants gain the necessary experience in Canada when employers are hesitant to provide opportunities to newcomers? I think we've touched on this a little bit, but I'll give this to Anna, just to Anna to respond to this one. And I know why I'm giving it to you. So do you even think that they're hesitant to give opportunities to newcomers, right? And then if they are, like, what do they do? I'm kind of paraphrasing this question. So let me start by asking, do you think employers, how do they even know they are newcomers in the first place? Is it based on their resume? What do you think?
So often with career sites, when you apply for a role, one of the screening questions that will automatically get asked in the job application is your legal authorization to work in the country. And I think you'll see that in any company, any website, any job you apply to, and that often will ask you if you're on a work permit, for example, or if there's an expiry to your work permit, and that often signals that somebody is new to the country. This is a tough one to answer, to be honest, and I find candidates asking me this directly sometimes. I think we'll get to the networking part of it, but part of getting some of the experience or asking for mentors, I think, is a really good way to maybe not necessarily get the experience, but to better understand a certain organization or that role within the organization, how it functions. And to be very honest, a project manager from company A can be a very different practical day-to-day than a project manager in company B. And so I do get a lot of messages on LinkedIn, to be honest, from people who are new to Canada, and I don't know that the recruiter is the best way to try and network, to be honest. And I get an overwhelming number of messages and I want to respond to everybody and I try, but it's almost better to go on LinkedIn, for example, identify an organization first that you're interested in, that you have that parallel experience in that industry, and then look through their company people to see who else is in the role that you have experience in. So for example, if you're a business analyst or if you're a data scientist, look for other data scientists in that organization and reach out to say, hey, really admire your experience or would love to learn a little bit more about your career path. And just start off with a very informal, small ask, because everybody is very busy. You've got family, kids, work. So asking for a little bit of time or just a compliment and then explaining why you'd like to learn more about that company based on that person's profile is a good way to get some of that, I wouldn't say experience, but some knowledge about that organization and how you can then apply or strengthen your application. The other part that you could do maybe is like through some of these short bootcamp courses or programs, sometimes organizations or the academic institutions will offer like a placement, for example, that is pro bono with a certain company just to get some internship, or I hate saying internship because I don't believe that somebody who comes from another country with practical experience should work for free. But the practical reality is that it is so competitive. So to get some of that experience, you know, if you're not working already anyways, it wouldn't hurt to reach out to say, would love to do a bit of, you know, like pro bono consulting work, or just, you know, if to that mentor or that person you identify, can I help out, or maybe just learn a little bit more about your organization? I think that's probably the best way to go about it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anna. And that's what you just said now is something I have tried so many times, and I have succeeded more times than not. Like you said, you come with so much experience, but sometimes, like, this is new, right? So sometimes you have to do some internship, some pro bono work. I have done this so many times and it has worked, always had very positive outcomes for me. And also you have references within Canada once you put yourself out there to do some of these things. Imolayo, can you in a few words speak to this? Because I feel like it's something you may want to speak to here, this question.
Yeah. So Anna has also touched on some very good point. What I wanted to also add, which worked for me, was volunteering.
Yeah.
Right. Canada is big on volunteering. It's part of, you know, where you're doing labor assessment and hours in Canada. Volunteering are.
Oh, did he freeze or is it me? Can you hear me? Okay, please let me have a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, great. So I think Himalaya is frozen. Maybe he will go and come back. Pascal, can you give us the next question while we wait for Himalaya? Okay, good. So Anna, let's speak to this. Someone asked a question. I think Duyadi asked a question about unconscious bias and the name on a resume, right? What do you think about this? Is this a thing? And I think you've answered it, but we just want to know, is this a thing? You're muted, Anna, by the way.
Sorry. Unfortunately, in an ideal world, this shouldn't be a thing, but yes, unfortunately, it is often, and it's just assumed that if someone sees an ethnic name, they'll just assume, oh, they don't have Canadian experience, this really upsets me, because I just, like, some of the most talented people I've spoken to and hired, just, and sometimes these candidates will say to me, oh, actually, you can call me this instead of my ethnic name. And that, it bothers me. And I'm like, no, you tell me like what, and I think I've seen a lot of folks will abbreviate, or like the last name to just the last and like first letter of the last name, which isn't great, to be honest, because to the person screening the resume, sometimes it sends a signal like, maybe you're not a legitimate applicant, you know, like it's a bit, and it does happen because I get a lot of fraudulent candidates, okay, for certain roles. So when recruiters or hiring leaders see that on a resume, sometimes it's an immediate like, oh, I don't know if I want to look at this or explore further. So in an ideal world, it shouldn't, but in practical reality, I have seen this. So
is there a way, what do these candidates do? Like you said, people start to abbreviate their names. Sometimes you don't even know someone's full name until you've known them for like 2 years, and they're like, oh, my full name is so, I just had to cut it. So like, and I've seen what you're saying. What should we just cut our names short? Should we just take on English names? Should we, or should we just keep doing what we're doing? Like, I just want to know what people should do here, because this is a real and legit problem.
Okay, so I think my recommendation would be, when you identify a job that you're interested in, go look at that company's LinkedIn, look through the people that work there. If you notice that majority of the people who work there are non-ethnic, then likely you'll probably want to either use like a called name, a westernized called name, just to get past that first screen. I hate saying this really bothers me, because it's totally against how I operate, but because you're always going to deal with the bias, whether we're not there yet, right? Like, I think as a country, we're getting there, but we're not there yet. So if you look at a company, do your research. If you see in that company, it's a very diverse employee population, you're probably okay to use your full legal, whatever name you'd like to use. I think the one thing I wouldn't do necessarily is sometimes when you fill out the application, candidates will change up like the last name and first name order. And I think just be very cognizant of that, because sometimes as you go through the recruitment process, when they go to do like criminal record checks or background checks, some people who are, to be honest, a little bit ignorant may assume like, okay, well, they entered their name as this in the application and now we're running background checks and the name has changed. And then they react in a kind of concerned way. So keep it consistent. So with the name you use on your resume, use that same name in the application when you fill out your profile, first name, last name, or first middle name, last name, and then be consistent through that. If you have a LinkedIn profile, this is the other thing that I sometimes is a bit frustrating, is a resume will be submitted under a certain name, and then I'll try to find them on LinkedIn to see, because sometimes LinkedIn, it's a bit more exciting than the resume, because you get recommendations. You can see what other people have commended that person for, and that's always really a good way to build your brand. But I can't find the person on LinkedIn because their name on LinkedIn is different from their name on the resume. So professionally, I would recommend be consistent with the name that you use in the application, on your resume, on LinkedIn.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
And I think you have dropped some really good nuggets here. Again, I'm going to summarize here with regards to consistency. I'm going to touch on this because it's a problem I have seen someone face. Your first name is your name. My first name is Michelle. My first name is not Okundu. My first name is your name, the name you're called. That's your first name, and then your last name is your surname, right? And so keep it consistent. Don't switch it. Sometimes first name is Okundu, the other time first name is Michelle. Keep it consistent, because most of the time employers look at your name and they look at a database when they run checks and all that. They want to see that consistency. Canada is also big on LinkedIn, guys. I know a lot of countries are not too big on LinkedIn. Canada is big on LinkedIn, and we overemphasize this at Hybrid when we train our students, because we do LinkedIn optimization sessions for our students. And some of our students come in and they do not have profiles, and we try to make them create one. And then keeping your LinkedIn profile consistent with your resume is so important as well. You don't also have your resume saying one thing, your LinkedIn profile is totally different. They should at least to a large extent mirror each other. The third thing she touched on was, if you're looking at working for a company, unfortunately, look at the employee base. If it's a diverse employee base, then your chances are higher. But if you're looking at an organization where they're only hiring like one type of people, or they only have one type of people, then your chances may be low. And thank you for saying that was a tough one to say, but that's the reality, and it's good for people to kind of be aware of things like this. Emily, welcome back. Sorry,
so sorry. I had to join with my phone. I don't know what happened. So sorry about that. But I'm back now.
Thank you. We addressed this question. Can we see the next one, please? Awesome. Position one for success. Okay. So somehow we're touching on some of the things, but for this question, I'm going to talk about opportunities. Could you provide some insight on the current job market? Now we've talked a bit about challenges. Emola, are you able to talk? Are you back fully? Are you stable?
Yes.
Talk a bit about the opportunities within the current job market in your space. What opportunities exist?
In my space.
When I say your space, like from your own lens, what do you see? What opportunities exist? And yeah, I mean, Hybrid is an IT. We're more interested in tech. So are you able to speak to? I know Hannah does a lot of tech recruitment. So you about what opportunities exist. It may not be tech, but tell us. Not everybody here is in tech.
Yeah. So mine is not so much of tech.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Tech is a big need.
Yes.
In fact, we were talking about our comp reorg today, and we have to scale. We have to really, increase what we are offering in the tech space so as to be competitive, right? But I'm in the manufacturing. I work in the manufacturing concern, and there's always opportunity for people who have manufacturing experience or sales experience or production experience, right? We're always looking for people who are able to sell, But of course, it's driven by business needs, right? So sometimes you want to look at what is the market lens? What does it look like if you're looking at the current job market? I know that for some time there was a wave around, Scrum Master and, in the IT space. And we find that at a level, while there's still a big need for that because things are really happening, it's also getting saturated. So you also want to look at, am I in an industry that there is a high demand for based on the current labor impacts, based on the current economy? And if the answer is, whatever the answer is, one of the key things you have to keep in mind is, what skill sets how do I differentiate myself? You know, what do I need to augment? What do I need to reposition myself to be sought after? You know, so I'm an HR person. I mean, some 4 years ago, I asked myself this question, and that question led me to start and, you know, increasing my competencies around change management and data analytics and all of that. So one of the things you have to look at is, what is the need right now in the market? What are the skill sets do I possess, you know, that is valuable in the market? And if you find a gap, you know, how do I bridge that gap? You know, so sometimes you have to think about bridging that gap from reskilling, right? Bridging that gap from, you know, doing some certifications or recertifications, or bridging that gap with your strategic networking, you know, because sometimes some people have all the competencies and skills, but nobody is seeing you. And if you're not bringing yourself to the fore there, you are just like someone winking in the dark. You're winking in the dark, nobody's seeing what you're doing, right? And they also say the one that speaks louder, shouts loudest, gets more opportunity. That's how competitive the world we are right now is, you know. So what I say to you is, opportunities are bound everywhere, especially in Canada. There are tons of opportunity. Are you seeing the opportunity? Are you a short-term, mid-term, or long-term person? I know a lot of people want short-term now. No, sometimes it doesn't work that way. Sometimes you need to path your way and go and relearn certain things and reposition, right? But there are opportunities. There will always be opportunities. It's really about your skill set, your motivation, your passion, and then finding how to get to the city. There's always a way to the city so that your labor will not be in vain. There's always a way. And platforms like this and panel like this is part of the way to say, hey, what do I need to do? What do I need to unlearn, reposition? What do I need to add? How do I need to set myself? So there's always opportunity everywhere. In manufacturing, there's opportunity because we are making money. People are drinking, buying our product. There's always opportunities everywhere. I think I'm going to say from that. It's really about you, what you want and where you want to go.
Thank you so much, Imolayo. I think some of the things you've touched on here is looking at the market need. And someone asked how. I mean, so let's not underestimate the power of doing a little research, right? Just a little search, like what are the trending, you know, and don't look at jobs, look at skills that are needed in the current job market, right? So how you tweak your search matters. So don't say what are the trending jobs. Look at what does the market need right now. And then what Imolaya has said is doing that and then looking at where you are and saying, do I have the skills to be able to meet up with the market need? Yes, okay, how do I get myself out there? No, how do I reskill? How do I upskill, right? Or how do I connect myself with the right people, right networks? So those are some of the things he has said. So thank you for that, Imolayo. And I'm going to give you a few seconds because you are in the tech recruiting space in some ways. Are there any opportunities that are abound right now, like are prevalent now in that space? Skills that people are looking for more?
I think in the space that I'm in, which is more of the product management, product engineering, but also a lot of these high-tech companies that are building products that are automating the way people do anything in life. What's really important right now, I think, is data analytics. Every organization wants to be data-driven. They want to make their decisions based on data versus like a thinking or thought or feeling. So if you're in the data analytics, data science space, that's still quite an extremely competitive area to be in. The other one I wanted to highlight, which I don't think is going anywhere, even in this economic kind of a little bit downturn, is cybersecurity. This is a big one. So if you have a background in IT in your home country, or you've touched on parts of cybersecurity, whether it be information security or more the technical IT security stuff, that's a great opportunity to upskill a little bit or take a boot camp or coursework, or even LinkedIn Learning is a great resource, for example. getting maybe a certification in where you want to pivot or where you're wanting to take your career path. Because to be honest, there are certain roles that are really hard to compete with the already Canadian talent and Canadian candidate pool, where Canadians are having a hard time landing those jobs. So perhaps take what you have already done and look at ways where you might be able to career pivot a little bit. I think one of the questions in that survey was finding, how do you even find the right jobs, or how do you find the right opportunities? And I think through LinkedIn, Indeed is also a really great one. It's a job board, and if you search like jobs posted in certain cities or provinces that you're thinking of that you're based in, or that you know you're relocating to, each province might be slightly different, right? There's a big tech hub in Vancouver. There's a big tech hub in Toronto. Other provinces may be more government jobs, for example. So understanding the geographical market, I think, is a key one. So searching by province or geolocation on Indeed, on LinkedIn. You can also, LinkedIn has a really cool search feature where you can see, like, let's say you're a DevOps engineer, or let's say you're a business analyst. If you search business analyst jobs posted in Toronto in the last week, you'll see if there's 50 jobs or 10 jobs. And that'll give you an idea of how much demand there is for your skill set or your experience. So I think, to your point, Michelle, like, the power of research is using those parameters, searching what you know about yourself, your job title, your function, your location, and then looking on these various job sites to see where there are tons of jobs or if there's not many.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anna. The time is running so fast, and we still have these tons of questions. Again, I'm going to reiterate some of the things Anna has said here. She talked about data analytics. Again, hybrid, we do a very comprehensive data analytics course. We do LinkedIn optimization courses as well. And then you are going to be exposed to so many projects that at the end of some of these courses, you are going to be armed with you're going to have a data analytics portfolio at the end of it, right? And so if you're looking for something in that space, hybrid is something in some way you should consider for that. She also talked about cybersecurity. Are you a security person? Do you have some certain skill, type in that space? Take on a junior level role, take on another. You may not be able to compete at a senior role, but take on something in that space. There's always something that gives you a foot in the door. So do not ignore when you're given an opportunity to give yourself a foot in the door. Some people want the big roles, the manager roles, but how about I give you this one, and then that brings you into, I've seen people that get into roles as something else, and then in less than 3 months, they are where they want to be. So do not, neglect and say, oh, I'm from here, I have all this skill, I cannot come in here. So please try not to do that. Anna, did you want to say something? I saw you almost want to say, did you want to say something?
I was just going to add, yeah, I just wanted to add, in terms of finding opportunities, or some of the opportunities right now, is a lot of organizations are going to contract role versus regular full-time. And this is a really good way to get in, but also not be married to the company in case you hate it, or you don't like the people you end up working with. But contract roles, I think, are a great way to make yourself more competitive, because, for example, a lot of folks, may have an aversion to contract. They want regular full-time because they have many kids and they need benefits and all that stuff. But if you're open to and you're flexible to doing contract, like temporary full-time for 1 year, it gets you that practical Canadian experience. It gets you kind of that exposure, helps you grow your network within an organization, and then you take that to the next thing that you want to do. So I say this to new grads, but also newcomers, is go after those contract roles, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year. While it may not be permanent full-time, it will get you that one extra thing to put on your resume and help you start to build your network in this market.
That's beautiful. I think we're.
Oh, did we lose Michelle?
Yeah, she's back.
Okay, sorry, I'm back.
Is Michelle frozen?
Yeah, she's back now. I think
I'm
we're
back.
Oh, she's back.
Thank you.
So if you don't mind, I wanted to quickly touch on something you talked about, Michelle. You talked about people not necessarily getting the kind of roles they want. And I think that's something you need to know. Once you make a decision to immigrate to another country, right? most people, a few people get parallel roles. They go on, a few people, they even get verticals. A few people, it's a lateral move for them. For most people, you don't get a lateral position, right? It's not, there's nothing wrong in, I wouldn't say starts at the beginning. I would say, especially if you have mid-level experience, don't be an HR manager back home and now you're really looking for just HR officer role, except it's volunteer and intern. But you might be looking for an HR generalist role, right? You might be looking for a step below or 2 steps below, where once you're able to prove yourself and learn the system and learn a few things, it's easy for you to now do what I call consolidation, right? All your previous experience, you bring it to the table and all you've learned, and then you now become more competitive. Don't be headlong on, except I get the same manager or director role I was back home. Then you might need to stay longer before you get that. I'm not saying it's impossible, but understand that at some point, leg in the door, in the right door, feet in the right door, gives you leverage to become more competitive in a short term than having nothing and just sticking it, you're just saying, by all means, I must be a senior director because I was senior director back home. It might not work that way. So that nimbleness must be there, that openness to, and knowing that it's a bus stop, it's not your location, it's just a small comma, as long as you keep your eyes on the mark, you're definitely going to get back into the system at a more appreciable level. So let's keep that in mind.
Awesome. Thank you, Molia. Some things here to take away. I talked about taking contract roles when you see them. There are just so many ways to navigate this thing. So you talk about contract, volunteering, internships. These are not bad things. And listen, like Molia said, you may actually be setting yourself up to fail if you want to take up those senior level roles because you don't understand the culture yet. So you may need a role where you need to walk up because you need to understand how the people in this, in the Canadian workspace, how they operate and how they work, the language, the lingo, the jokes, the little things that make a huge difference. You need to understand that. So don't set yourself up to fail. I always say something, if you don't remember anything, it's better to bend than to break. Bend a little bit, it's okay, better to bend than to, totally break. You don't have a job because you want the senior level role, but you can get, a coordinator role or something that will give you the network automatically, give you the skill, you're upskilling as you're doing that job, and you have the opportunity because you already have a foot in the door. When there are roles posted within those organizations, you're going to be one of the first to be considered, okay? So do not neglect some of these opportunities. Can we have the next question, please? I don't know how many. What additional steps can I take to build a professional network? So this is network beyond LinkedIn, as I sometimes feel that it doesn't provide any value. So this person doesn't feel like LinkedIn provides any value for them.
Really?
So they're asking what additional steps this person. So let's see what your thoughts are. Anna, I know Anna will soon be leaving, but Anna, let's see what are your thoughts on this? Talk about LinkedIn and talk about other ways through which people can build their professional network.
Yeah, so it depends how you're using LinkedIn. So sending out messages to a lot of people or reaching out to HR and recruiters, if it's a specific role you've identified, great. Like if I get a message and I say, someone says to me, hey, I saw there's a posting that you're recruiting for this role, really interested in learning more about it. I'm more inclined to answer that person than someone who just sends me a resume and says, I'm really interested in opportunities at your company. Can you take a look at my resume and tell me if you can find a job for me? That it's a little bit cringy because it's just like it shows a bit of a lack of consideration for what my time and priorities are in terms of like my role at that company. So I think it's really important how you're using LinkedIn. The other thing is joining groups within LinkedIn is really great because then you get to network like virtually with other professionals in that same discipline or in industry that you work in or are interested in working in. The other thing I was going to mention is that usually locally, certain disciplines or certain types of roles have like events through Meetup. I know it's big in some of the technical type of positions, but there could be roles or functions where there's a network already established or an association of some sort that gathers at a restaurant or, a bar or something, once every 3 months to talk about best practices in that sector or in that type of discipline. So I think building your network starts with building your brand on LinkedIn, which I see a lot of people don't do very well. They're not updating their summary to highlight, like, what are their personal values? What kind of companies or values do they look for when they're applying for certain organizations? What is the summary of their experience? What are those hard skills or soft skills? Or what are the successes that they've had in their roles? Having a description of what you've achieved or the outcomes in each of your employers is really important for your LinkedIn. So before you go and reach out to people on LinkedIn, build your brand, use your LinkedIn, put information, ask for recommendations, because that's what I look for when I'm recruiting. I go to someone's LinkedIn profile, I'm reading through the different organizations, and this is a faster way for me to see what that company does. If I don't already know it, I can just click on it on LinkedIn instead of having to Google what that company is. So if you haven't invested the energy in your LinkedIn, building your profile out, also, I know this is kind of controversial, but put a picture, please. Sometimes I see LinkedIn profiles without photos and I see very little information in the profile, and I don't know if it's a fraudulent candidate or if it's a legitimate candidate. And so sometimes I kind of err on the side of, I have 57 other applicants, I'm just going to bypass this one. So build your brand before you use LinkedIn to start networking and reaching out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anna. Again, LinkedIn. We cannot I saw Imolayo shout, like, what? LinkedIn is not valuable? Like I said before now, Canada is big on LinkedIn. I know some countries and some parts of the world are not very big on LinkedIn. It's a thing here. Like, you have to build your personal brand or your brand on LinkedIn, and you don't have to get it right, or it doesn't have to be a perfect one. Start it, make it look nice, put a nice professional picture there. Like we say during the hybrid LinkedIn optimization course, we know you love your spouse, we know you love your dog and your cats. You don't necessarily have to put those. We want to see your face. There's a way your picture should look. And I don't want to give you that LinkedIn optimization course here for free. But yes, but it's something that we cannot overemphasize. Anna talked about how you network strategically. Like, do you tell someone to look at your resume for you, or do you do your homework in the back end and say, I saw this job opening, how can I apply, or this, I want to apply, or something. Do not give someone, and don't give someone your work to do for you. Don't tell them, what job can I get in your organization? Do a little digging. She talked about in-person networking sessions. Go out. The sun is out. Go out, go for some of these sessions. Anna needs to drop off now. Anna, do you have any final words for us before you leave?
I think my only advice is, as discouraging and disappointing as the process might be, like, you should also feel empowered knowing that you do bring value, regardless of what country you're coming from and bringing that experience from. Your experience is valuable. You just have to find the right organization, the right opportunity, and sometimes it is timing, but don't get discouraged. I always say to candidates, if you don't get it on the first try, keep at it. It might take some time, but I do see a lot of value in people coming from outside of Canada, for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anna.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anna's last words. Yeah, can you give Anna a clap, a thumbs up, something before she leaves? Can we cheer her on? Come on, let's do a thumbs up to Anna. Anna has been
hope
good.
that's helpful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yes, Anna, someone actually put on the chat and said, thank you for keeping it real. They like that you're keeping it real. Yes, so thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Anna, thank you for the time. It's been a pleasure having you. We'll bring Anna back for another session sometime in the future, okay? So Anna,
thank you so much.
Yes, awesome. So
bye.
Anna talked about, she said, don't be discouraged. Do not be discouraged. Keep doing it. Get used to getting a no. It's okay to get a no. You get used to it, okay? So let's get Imolayo to address this question, because I know he reacted to this question. So what do you think about this? Is there something you want to add to what Anna had said?
I mean, yeah, I think she's pointed out a lot of very important things, but I'll talk a little about LinkedIn and I'll talk about networking and their platforms. LinkedIn has 922 million users. That is huge, right? It's a marketplace, right? It's a professional marketplace. So I can't tell you the number of job opportunities I get on LinkedIn on a weekly basis because I'm on LinkedIn. I've done business on LinkedIn. I've made money on LinkedIn. I've offered services to people on LinkedIn. I've paid for services on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is a powerful, powerful tool. In fact, I spend more of my time on LinkedIn than any other social media platform. And I want to say this to you. If you're looking for a job in Canada, finding a job in Canada itself, it's a job. Please keep that in mind. It's a job finding a job in Canada. right? It's not always the easiest of things. And so LinkedIn is a perfect place to, to network and learn the nuances. Attend the session that Hybrid is going to put up very soon. Go on YouTube, learn stuff. And I've said some things, learn it. There is a way. Because you don't know about it doesn't mean, or because you tried and it didn't work doesn't mean it doesn't work, right? You need to learn it. Now, I'll say this to you. If you're new in Canada, every interaction association, for instance, if you're a Christian or you're a Muslim, these are social systems. Your church, you must be strategic about it. Your mosque, or wherever whatever you're interested in, you must be very strategic about it, because you're going to be meeting people there, right? You're going to be meeting people there, and you must be very intentional. I tell in my coaching sessions, I tell certain people, you can afford to come here and cause a 360 shift in your life and make that major change, and you get there and you say you're shy or you're intimidated. No, you cannot be. Canada is a leveler. No matter how big you are or how strategic you are back home, there are things you need to begin to put aside and learn here and come out. Nobody is looking at you, right? Nobody is. I mean, you're right. People have hell of money here, and they're wearing t-shirts and they're using regular cars. And you have people with tons of credit card issues using big cars. It's never a measure of anything. And a lot of foreigners need to understand that here there's dignity in labor, right? And that my own principle is, while you're positioning yourself to get the kind of job you want, you must understand that anything your hand finds to do as you journey to that path that is able to position you better is something important you need to pay attention to. And whatever that looks like, let's keep that in mind.
Thank you so much, Imolayo. You talked about being intentional about networking. I mean, don't just go to church, don't just go to the mosque, don't just go to the temple, don't just go and meet your friends. Ask people, what do you do? It's a question. What do you do? Where do you work? Oh, what kind of roles? Like little things like that, okay, could make a difference. Don't be shy, don't be afraid. The maximum that can happen is a no, and that is fine. So be very comfortable with getting a no or a cold shoulder. That is fine. At least you tried. We're going to take just one more question. Again, I apologize. We didn't take all the questions. We're going to have more of these sessions to address different things. This one was more general in scope. We're going to do a whole session on networking as a topic in itself. So Imolayo, this question is, what are some essential do's? This is our final question. What are some essential do's and don'ts for new immigrants actively searching for jobs in Canada? So give us two of each, 2 do's and 2 don'ts. Sorry, I'm going to restrict it to 2 of each.
Okay, yeah. Good question. Let me start with the don'ts. Don't ask somebody who you don't know or you've not established a level of engagement or conversation to help you review your resume or to refer you for a job. Please don't. I see a lot of people doing that, right? While that is a segue to something positive, but don't just, your first engagement, you're sending them your resume or you're sending them your job or you're asking them for favors, right? It's important that you keep that in mind. Don't let that be your first thing. That's the first thing. I think that's one, right? Another thing you should.
That's one don't. Yes.
The second don't is, I mean, it's big, but I'll say it to you. Don't give up. That's one don't I can tell you. The struggle is real, my brothers and sisters. I was an HR manager from back home. I had an official car. And I got here. I was working Walmart for 3 months. I mean, there are times my back was paining me. The struggle is real. We can't deceive ourselves. But don't give up. Don't give up because you have value to offer. Don't give up because they brought you here, because there's something about you that the world is waiting for. You just need to continually figure out, how do I go about it? And I know it can be depressing. I've talked to people who have,
Thank you, Malaya. I'm going to cut you off there. So give me 2 do's. 2 do's. Quickly.
The first do is to keep learning. Okay. The first do is to keep learning. You have to keep learning. The internet is there, the social media is there. There are people who are willing to help here. Is to keep learning. And the second do is exploit technology, learn, invest in learning. The first thing you are doing is invest. put effort, resource, invest in learning, time, resources, money, whatever that looks like, please. Then the second thing you need to do is to understand that when you have, my apologies. Sorry. The second thing you need to do, is that when you hear anything, when you are confronted with any situation or circumstance, the first thing you need to do is to search your heart, right? And to lean on some of the things, the successes you've had before, right? The great things you've done before in the past that has brought you results, to trust in that thing and to trust in your process, right? You need to believe in yourself. I don't know how to say it. You need to believe.
Thank you, Mole. I'm so sorry. I don't want to do this, but I have to cut you off. You have said some really powerful things. I also wanted to add that the last thing you said about believing and being confident. Hybrid is rolling out a career prep course. It's going to go deep into self-awareness, into confidence. So besides that course being focused on prepping you for a job, it's also going to work on you as a person, your confidence, and leaning on your past successes. How do you do that? Because a lot of people come here and they feel beaten and defeated. You talked about learning. So learn. He said, don't give up. And don't give somebody your resume. Don't just send your resume to somebody to review for you, somebody you don't have a relationship. Even if you have a relationship with them, don't just send someone off your resume and say, can you review this for me? We're going to have many, many more of these sessions, okay? So stay tuned. Pascal, I'm going to invite Pascal to close for us. Just 2 minutes, Pascal. Close. We only have 2 minutes to close so that everyone can go about their day. Are you here, Pascal, for the closing?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you. Just give me 1 second.
Okay.
All right. So thank you so much. I didn't have a chance to say thank you to Anna before she left, but I think that was really great. Imole, fantastic job over here. So thank you so much to you both for coming. And thank you to all our participants. I saw the numbers going up and we were almost hitting towards 90 people on the call today. So thank you all so much for coming. Just before you leave, I just wanted to give you, in case you're wondering who put this together, who are this crazy bunch of people who are doing all of this. So just a few facts that I want to lay before you leave. I'm not as smart or content heavy as Hannah and Imole are. So just a few things about who we are, who is Hybrid. We are a project-based training and research company here in Canada, and we prepare mid-career professionals for the future. And I'll show you how we do that. Last year, we did over 1,000 people on different skills we trained for, and a lot of them got jobs here in Canada and also other parts of the world. So we get instructors from the big tech companies, Salesforce, MasterCard, Amazon, PwC, and all of them. And this is how we get our courses designed. They come in, design our courses, and then teach those courses to our students as well. And we are 100% virtual for now. There are conversations that this might change in the near future, but for now, we are 100% virtual. So the courses we offer now, these first 5 courses you have here, from product management, business analysis, data analytics, and Python program and UX design, those are the courses we have for now. And we have a few courses that will launch in a few weeks from now. Consulting and strategy, for those of you that want to go into tech consulting, that will be a great course for you. And then career design, which is a very exciting, wonderful program that we are developing. And that is going to help you overhaul your entire career and help you make fine decisions for the future. And then the course is also coming on artificial intelligence and the future. I think AI is a buzzword now, but we want to bring some level of awareness to people, and then they know how they can prepare themselves for the coming disruption. Then there is data strategy for leaders. So you don't want to do coding Python, but you want to know how does data impact organizations. So that course will be for you. And then if you want to be as wonderful and smart as Imole and Hannah are, we have a course coming up on HR analytics as well. So those are the few things that we have. I wanted to share with you. And then our next cohort for this course is starting in less than 6 weeks from now. So if you are interested in any of them, go to our website. It's hybrid.io, and then you can enroll for the course that you are interested in. And then I just wanted to say a big thank you again to all of you. So thank you for coming. I hope you had a good time. This is Thrive in Canada 1.0. We're going to have multiple sessions in the near future. So for those of you in Canada, in Vancouver, this is a wonderful day in the evening. Go have a good time, enjoy the sun. For those of you in other parts of the world, please do have fun, and we look forward to seeing you all next time. So enjoy the rest of your day, and bye to you all.
Thank you, Imole. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good rest of the day. Bye.
Very good one. Bye.